In this video we are going to study a very instructive master game in which we will see how black uses the dragon variation and completely dominates the game. After the move e4, black responded with c5, entering the Sicilian defense. Black advances with a side pawn and takes control of the d4 square. So, if white plays d4 to occupy the center with his pawns, then black will be able to capture on d4. White played knight f3, developing his king's knight and taking control of the d4 square. His plan is to advance with d4 to occupy the center with his pawns and, if black captures on d4, then be able to recapture with the knight. Black played d6, taking control of the e5 square. The idea is to continue with knight f6, to attack the e4 pawn without allowing it to advance. White can play d4, occupying the center with his pawns. Black responded c takes d4, eliminating the opponent's central pawn and exchanging it for his side pawn. So black is left with a central majority of pawns. After knight takes d4, black played knight f6, developing the king's knight and threatening to capture the e4 pawn. White played knight c3, developing the queen's knight and defending the e4 pawn. Now, black played g6, entering the dragon variation. White played bishop e3, with the idea of using the Yugoslav attack. The plan is to continue with queen d2, and then castle on the queen side. Black played bishop g7, developing the king's bishop through the fianchetto and preparing to castle. Now, black is threatening knight g4, to attack the bishop on e3. White played f3, taking control over the g4 square, to prevent the black pieces from making use of that square, and at the same time reinforcing the defense of the e4 pawn. Now black played knight c6, developing the queen's knight on its natural square and pressing against the white knight on d4. White played queen d2, mobilizing his queen and preparing to castle on the long side. Black castled. White played bishop c4, completing the development of his minor pieces and taking control of the d5 square, to prevent black's d5 move. Black played bishop d7, completing the development of his minor pieces. White played h4, beginning to advance his pawns on the kingside, to start the attack in this area. Black responded with rook c8, activating the queen's rook and targeting the undefended bishop on c4. Now, h5 is not possible, continuing the kingside attack, because black responds knight takes d4 and the bishop on c4 is attacked. After queen takes d4, to defend the bishop, black plays knight g4 and wins, since three white pieces are attacked and white cannot defend all of them at the same time. In the game, after the move rook c8, white played bishop b3, retreating his bishop to a safer square. Black played h5, to stop the advance of the white pawn and halt the opponent's attack on the kingside. White castled queenside. Black played knight e5, centralizing the knight and preparing to move it to the c4 square and perform the typical knight maneuver. White played bishop g5, invading the enemy's camp with the bishop and attacking the knight on f6, which is a good defender of black castling. White prepares a strong attack on the kingside. The idea is to exert pressure along this diagonal, making moves like e5 or knight d5 much stronger in the future. Black played rook c5. A very good move. Once the white bishop is no longer on e3, the black rook can move to the 5th rank, where it will be very well positioned, as it will be able to defend on the kingside and at the same time support the attack on the queenside. From the c5 square, the rook controls the 5th rank, supports the advance with b5 and at the same time black prepares to be able to double the rooks on the c-file in the future. White played g4, starting the attack on the kingside, with the idea of opening lines and being able to attack the white king. Black played h takes g4, capturing the white pawn. If white now captures on g4, black responds with the bishop takes g4 and has the advantage. And if white plays h5, black can respond with knight takes h5, which will allow him to repel the kingside attack and have very good play. In the game, white played with bishop takes f6, eliminating the black knight on f6, which is a good defender of the opponent's castling. However, normally in the dragon white should only exchange his dark squared bishop for a knight if he has something concrete, otherwise the black bishop on the fianchetto cannot be eliminated and will be a very strong piece. The game continued, bishop takes f6. h5. White tries to open lines on the kingside to be able to attack the black king. Black played g5, to keep the lines closed on the kingside and prevent any possible attack by the opponent. Now, white played knight d5, with the idea of eliminating the black bishop. But now black played rook takes d5. A very good move. Now, we see another advantage of having placed the rook on the 5th rank. Black sacrifices the exchange to eliminate a good attacker of the opponent. In this way, black keeps the dragon bishop, which is the most important piece in this variation. If white captures on d5 with the bishop, black responds with g takes f3 and can continue with moves like g4, king h7, thereby consolidating his position and being able to assert his advantage. In the game, white captured on d5 with the pawn. Black played g takes f3. Black has 2 pawns as compensation for the exchange and is better off. Now, white played c3, with the idea of opening up the c2 square for the bishop and being able to reactivate it. Black played g4, advancing his passed pawns on the kingside and reinforcing the defense of the f3 pawn. Black could continue with moves like king h8, rook g8 and bishop g5, which would pin the opponent's queen. White played king b1, placing the king on a safer square and avoiding any tactics along this diagonal. Black played queen b6, moving his queen to the queenside and freeing up the back rank, with the idea of following up with rook c8, to prepare the counterattack on the queenside. White played bishop c2, with the idea of reactivating the bishop. Black played knight c4, threatening to checkmate on b2 and attacking the opponent's queen. White played queen c1, to defend the queen and avoid checkmate. Black played rook c8, incorporating the rook into the attack on the queenside. White played knight f5, with the idea of continuing his kingside attack. But now black played knight a3 check. And after king a1. Black played rook takes c3, sacrificing the rook to completely destroy the opponent's king's defenses. White played knight takes e7 check, trying to deflect black's bishop. But black responded king f8 and white finally resigned. In the case of rook h2, with the idea of incorporating the rook into the defense along the 2nd rank, black plays f2 and wins. And if white captures the black rook, black can play bishop takes c3 for check and then queen b2. Queen takes b2 is checkmate. A very instructive game, in which we saw how white made the mistake of exchanging his dark squared bishop for the knight on f6. So the dragon bishop could not be eliminated and black finally won the game.